deprivation of rights and bodily injury. The last suspect was Justin Smith, found guilty on count 4.
Not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. Guilty of obstructive of
20 years for
justice.
both of those counts, in fact.
Oh,
Civil rights
wow.
violations, the unreasonable force violations, the deliberate indifference charges, found not guilty. All three officers found not guilty on all of those charges. So again, life in prison regarding the federal case, off the table for all three.
Oh,
Going to be
wow.
It's gonna, I'm not exactly sure the timetable. We've got reporters in the newsroom.
Only guilty of
I should say, that should be able to give us a little more
obstruction of
information on
justice.
exactly how long it's going to take before we see sentencing in this particular trial.
Mind you, all of this started on January 7th of 2023. It started that evening.
Can you believe that? Oh, wow. They got some not guilty verdicts.
Where Tyre Nichols was pulled over. I believe it was in Hickory Hill.
It was.
And everything ensued.
Rains and Ross Road.
Yes, and he was only a block or two away from his home.
And only a block or two from the Rains MPD station. All right, let's go to Fox 13's Kayla Solomon. She has been covering this case since day one. Again, we're wrapping up almost 4 full weeks in a federal courtroom.
Mixed
Kayla,
verdict in the Tyre Nichols trial.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, that this verdict came down much sooner than we were all expecting it to.
Oh, wow.
About 6 hours for the jury to reach the verdict. And I know Darcy and Daryl, you guys have been saying what those charges are, but all 3 defendants were found guilty of the conspiracy obstruction of justice charge, that count 4, and not guilty of the other charges instead. Now, we do know that one defendant, Demetrius Haley, was found guilty of both obstruction charges and the lesser charges when it comes to the unreasonable force. So at this point, what we're waiting for is to see exactly how the family is going to react, how the defense attorneys are going to react, and the prosecutors in this case. It has been a very long trial, almost exactly 4 weeks. It took 19 days to get to the point that we are at now. So at this point, we're waiting any moment for the family to come down, for those defense attorneys and prosecutors to come down. We do know that while the verdict was being read, the family was stoic in the courtroom. They did not have a reaction. They kept a straight face throughout this entire thing. And they've done the same throughout the entire trial, just as someone making observations within the courtroom. But again, these 3 defendants are guilty of the obstruction of justice charge, not guilty as charged for unreasonable force, but Demetrius Haley is guilty of lesser charges of causing bodily injury. So again, at this point, just waiting for the family and everyone else to come outside.
Kayla, I don't want to put words in your mouth here, but I would think that the prosecution has to be a little taken aback by this, given the case they laid out, plus the video that we've seen so many times, time and time again. But also, we can't get lost in the fact that these 2 charges, the obstruction of justice and the conspiracy to obstruct justice, those still carry significant prison time. So we're not, these officers are not getting off free.
Wow, they're not getting life in prison
now.
though.
It's up to 20 years for each of those charges. But while the verdict was being read, you could see the look of surprise on the prosecutor's face, probably a little bit of disappointment as well. We did see one prosecutor, his face turned red while the verdict was being read by the judge. And he went through juror by juror and polled them to make sure that this was in fact a unanimous decision. And all of their answers were yes.
Kayla, curious. We have seen the video on the extent of, we've also seen all of the pictures of Tyre Nichols in the hospital. I believe that the defense made it very clear.
Never saw him strike the cop.
As if Tyre Nichols was a dangerous suspect, as if he was trying to get away, as if he was being combative. Did any of that play with the jury? Did you see anything on their faces that would make them think, well, maybe?
I know it was difficult at some point for jurors to watch the videos. We did see, just from where we were sitting, that one of the jurors ended up covering his ears, especially in parts of the video where you could hear Tyre calling for his mother on that body camera video. So you could see some of them did have reactions to the videos. But again, at this point, it looks like it didn't affect their
They said they lied.
Okay, that Memphis Fox 13.
They admitted to lying about even stopping him.
All of this started, of course, January 7th of last year. Kayla has been on this case since it first started. She's been in the courtroom, in fact, for the last 19 days on this case.
Kayla, do you expect the Nichols family to come out? Do you know if they're going to talk to the media? Have they made themselves available today, or do you know?
Yeah, I know this morning they did do a prayer circle, but they didn't indicate whether or not they were planning to speak after a verdict. So at this point, like I said, we're just waiting for them to come down and see if we can get them to comment at all on this case. I know their attorney, Ben Crump, we have not seen him today. We also haven't seen Antonio Romanucci, so their team of attorneys is not here, but we do know the family is here. And they
not guilty on 3 charges.
Kayla, stand by. We'll be
only
joining you
guilty
again in a moment. Here we are, 10 minutes, almost 11 minutes after 5 o'clock. Keep in mind the jury was handed this case, as Kayla pointed out, just before 11 a.m. It took them almost a couple of hours this morning for Judge Mark Norris to read instructions to the jury, because there's a long procedural process in reading those instructions. It's not just go deliberate. So that happened. They were able to get the case, went by, found out that they had a verdict in this case. And typically, as Darcy and I were discussing, we were discussing in the newsroom earlier, typically the more quickly you get a verdict read,
you think that it's going to be,
the worse it is for the defendants. But here we are 5 hours in, and to reset the charges, to reset the verdict, I should say, in the death of Tyre Nichols. Again, this is the federal trial. This is not the murder trial. This is in the violation of civil rights and the obstruction of justice trial, if you will. To Darius Bean, former officer, deliberate indifference, not guilty. Conspiracy to obstruct, not guilty. Obstruction of justice, guilty. That carries a 20-year term.
We also have Demetrius Haley. Unreasonable force, guilty. Deprivation of rights, guilty. Conspiracy to obstruct, guilty. And obstruction of justice, guilty. The conspiracy to obstruct and obstruction of justice. Those are the 2 charges that are 20 years, that he could face 20 years in prison. The lesser charges, unreasonable force and deprivation of rights. Again, both found guilty on those.
And of course, there were some reduced charges as well for Justin Smith. As we roll to his graphic, unreasonable force, not guilty. Deliberate indifference, also not guilty. Conspiracy to obstruct, not guilty. Obstruction of justice, guilty. And what were the other charges, Darcy?
The 2 charges for Demetrius Haley, the lesser charges, deprivation of rights.
That was Haley.
But also causing bodily harm.
Gotcha.
Found guilty on those 2 charges, the lesser charges as well.
So that's where we stand. You just heard Fox 13's Kayla Solomon, who's been in the courtroom since the very beginning, since they began selecting a jury, describe the faces of the defense attorneys, the prosecution, the federal prosecutors. One seemed angry, the other shocked. And I think that I think that there are a lot of people who are going to be shocked at the way this played out. But after 4 weeks, here we are.
Yeah. We're also wondering when they're going to be sentenced. That's one of the things people have been talking about. We're going to toss it back to Fox 13's Kayla Solomon, who joins us. She has been at federal court for the last 19 days. She has been in front of this case, and she brings us more. Kayla, we're trying to find out, do you finally have a sentencing date?
So your credit tanked, and now you have 3 roommates. Well, you're in luck, because Self will securely report your positive rent payments to all 3 credit bureaus for free. So you can increase your credit score and improve your living situation. Get free rent reporting. Download Self today.
What does it mean to be a world-class university? It means pushing the boundaries of the classroom to connect students and strengthen our communities. It means enriching lives through awe-inspiring arts and creativity around the globe. And it means making the impossible possible through trailblazing research and technology.
Since day one, January 7, 2023.
Sorry.
And I know it's all still very fresh on your mind. I would like to just get your general impressions of, more specifically, this past week, closing arguments that led us up to this point today. What were your impressions? What were you left with as the jury began their deliberations?
I'll tell you what, we were watching the jurors' faces as closing arguments were happening just to see if anybody had any strong reactions or any reaction at all. And they were difficult to read. They did not give a reaction to any of the defense attorney's arguments, nor did they give any reaction to what prosecutors had to say. But we did hear, of course, each defense attorney had the opportunity to plead their final case to the jury for this. And the jury, like I said, they've also been straight-faced, but they were instructed to be pretty stoic the entire case. They didn't want to see any reaction. The judge instructed them that any strong reactions could be a problem. And he said the same thing to everyone in the gallery as far as the family members go, as far as community activists who also showed up to attend the trial. Everyone across the board, difficult to read throughout this entire court case, and we finally see today it led all up to this verdict.
I know that the three defendants, none of them have spoken to the media at all. We're talking about Justin Smith, Darius Bean, and of course Demetrius Taylor, but I'm curious if they had a reaction, especially to the count 4 of obstruction of justice, knowing that that's possibly 20 years behind bars. Did they react at all? Because we also know, Kayla, that I believe that Desmond Mills broke down on the stand. So how did these other 3 defendants react?
Yeah, at this point, you couldn't see much of a reaction from them either. It's probably likely they were also told not to give much of a reaction by each of their attorneys, but you could see attorneys were feeling a little relieved as the verdict was read. And of course, in this case where you have the charge of unreasonable force and then the lesser charge of bodily injury, you know, we did see what happened in that case, especially with defendant Haley. At this point, we want to see what defendant Haley's attorney has to say specifically, because he was found guilty of those 2 lesser charges of causing bodily harm, as well as the 2 obstruction of justice charges. So right now it looks like he's going to be facing the most prison time in this case.
Yeah. One of the interesting facets of this case too, Kayla, are the 2 defendants that pled guilty, those 2 other officers, Emmett Martin, Desmond Mills. I mean, there's already been recommendations laid out that Martin should face 40 years in prison, Mills 15 years through the guilty plea. How do you think that's going to play out? I mean, they've yet to be sentenced. I'm assuming that they will be sentenced with this group of 3. Is that correct?
No, so each of them actually has a different sentencing date. So Mills pleaded guilty first. He pleaded guilty just 2 months after these federal charges came down, and he pleaded guilty to 2 of the charges, one for unreasonable force for using his baton and the other for the obstruction of justice and conspiracy. And the recommended time for him was about 15 years. And Emmett Martin pleaded guilty just weeks before this trial began, also to 2 of the charges as charged, and his recommendation set by the prosecution was about a 40-year prison sentence. So it'll be interesting to see how much the judge takes into account their testimony, as well as what those recommended sentences will have to do when it comes to sentencing the 3 that did go to trial.
Again, very interesting facet of this case. 2 of the 5 pled guilty, and looks like they're all going to face about the same amount of time in prison after all. You would think that the guilty pleas and the idea to cooperate with the prosecution would buy you much less time than the defendants in a case like this, but this time it did not.
And they're still facing state charges.
There's state charges left to go, second-degree murder charges. I mean, the second-degree murder charge itself, if they're found guilty of that, you're looking at 60 years in prison as a maximum. So there's still as my father used to say, there's many a slip between the cup and the lip. There's a long way to go before all of this is actually prosecuted and taken out to the fullest extent of the law. You know what, let's take a look at the jury breakdown again. 12 people on the jury. There were 2 alternates in this case, and this was the breakdown: 4 white men, 3 white women, 4 black women, 2 black men, 1 black man, 1 Asian as alternates. So the racial and gender makeup of the jury seems it was agreed upon very quickly. They actually sat this jury much more quickly than they thought they might.
They did.
If you
They
remember
thought it
that.
was going to take some time because they had so many jurors to choose from, but it took just a few days, and they had them all seated.
They had a pool of over 200, and in about a day and a half, they went through the voir dire process and had a jury seated and began this trial pretty judiciously.
We all thought that all of the jurors were going to come from Shelby County, but they did not. They came from Lauderdale County, Tipton County, some from Shelby County, but also some from Fayette County as well. So a wide variety of jurors that they had a chance to choose from.
Well, defense attorneys at press.
Hey, hello.
For bringing these charges and zealously prosecuting this case. Now you will hear from Mr. Rodney Wells, the father of Tyre Nichols.
I call BS too.
That we are all elated
But this is
We're
the
all
federal.
very,
They
very
still
happy
have
that
state.
These guys have been put in jail. This is a long time coming.
They still
And
have
justice for
state.
Tyre. So we're just so very proud that all of them are going to jail today.
Oh, today.
We cannot wait on the sentencing, so we know what their total time will be.
Hey,
It was a very
Brenna.
good day for our family.
They going to jail
And
today.
now you will hear from Judge Ernestine Doris, who will make a statement for you hear from his uncle.
They should have been guilty on
Today
all
is the day
four.
that we in fact got
This is
justice
federal,
for
so
Tyre,
this was,
and
I think they
just
say
like
the
to
civil
thank the
rights
government
part.
for their work in getting this done and their diligence and the way that this matter was held
Oh,
and
Lord.
handled before the court, so that we know that notwithstanding anything that we think, there is justice.
Yes.
It is very important
Not guilty
to note
on most federal
that
charges.
all of them were pointing the fingers at each other. So all of
They
them
admitted
said
on
that
my Hey
the others
Krista.
has something to do with the death of Tyre Nichols. That is very important, especially as we go forward to the other cases, whether it be the state criminal charge, but especially the civil case, the wrongful death civil rights violation, because the violation of Tyre Nichols' civil rights led to his death, and the blood is on the hand of the Memphis Police Department. That's right. And we're thankful to the jury for this
Chief
first step of
Davis.
justice. Now you will hear from his uncle
That's
John.
why she been quiet.
First and foremost, I'd just like to thank you all for being here for our family.
Officers are in custody.
Government. They really worked very hard for Tyre. And I'd like to thank God for watching over us and for our family.
Y'all please hit the like button.
And, you know, like they said, they're all in prison. They're not getting out anytime soon, and it's not over. I'd just like to say, you know, let this be a message to all officers, that you know, you will reap what you sow.
That's right.
You know,
They all are in
just can't
custody.
Go around hurting people and think that you're not going to be accountable for it. So let this be a message, because Tyre's death did not go in vain. And that's all I like to
Now
say.
you hear from his sister Kiwana. Kiana, I'm sorry.
Oh, bless the family.
I just want to say, I don't know if I'm happy, but it's a bittersweet day. I will never get my little brother back, but to see those officers held accountable for what they did and put our family through did give us some hope for the future, and maybe this won't ever happen to another family in the future, but I just so thankful. I was smiling when I saw them get taken away into custody, because that's part of the, that's just one of the things that they did with him. What they did to my brother was wrong, and to see them go into custody and be held accountable was anything and everything that my family could ask for.
Justice for Tyre Nichols.
Justice for Tyre Nichols.
I'd like to thank all the activists, all the state representatives, everybody, all the faith-based community, everybody who stood for justice, to say that Tyre deserved humanity, Tyre deserved his constitutional rights, and Tyre deserved to get home to his mother and father. Ms. Robart, would you like to say the last word?
I just want to say to all of you guys, thank you so much for covering this story the correct way, and I appreciate the love and everything that you guys have given our family, and to the community of Memphis, thank you for all the prayers and all the love. Just thank you so much. We appreciate it all.
Anything else, Marie? Anything else, family? No. Justice for Tyre Nichols. 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 Justice for Tyre Nichols.
Demetrius Haley seemed to have the harshest sentence. Do you think that that was fair?
Well, I think the jury evaluated all the evidence, and they made the decisions based on their deliberations of who should be punished most severely. We know that Martin and Haley and those all pointed the fingers at each other. And not only they're going to have to answer to the judge when he sentences them, most importantly, they're going to have to answer to God.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Right? Attorney Cross, you all wanted a guilty verdict on all counts.
We got, and that's what I was sitting there holding hands with Mr. Wells and Miss Wells, and when they heard a guilty conviction for each one of them, they thanked God right there as they were sitting in the courtroom. But then, when the judge said, U.S. Marshals, take them all into custody, Mr. Wells said, Thank God, all of them going to jail for what they did to my boy.
Oh, wow.
Justice for Tyre. Justice for Tyre. Justice for Tyre. Justice for Tyre. Justice for Tyre.
They did not go home. Justice for Tyre. Woo. That young man did not deserve that.
Okay, so we're back live now. If you all can hear us, we are watching live video now of Tyre's family marching or walking down Front Street here outside the federal building. They're calling for justice after the family held a press conference after hearing about those guilty verdicts. Attorney Benjamin Crump was with them. They said in so many words that while they wanted a guilty verdict, they are happy to know that the officers on trial are going to jail today. Of course, we'll learn their sentence soon, but the family is satisfied, they said. The family is satisfied that these officers are going to jail today. Let's get some more video, Adam, of these officers, the family of Tyre Nichols crossing the street here. But
they
again,
in jail. They're not going home.
Are crossing the street here on Front Street and Poplar Avenue out across
He didn't
the
make it home.
As they are about to head home.
And they didn't make it home
after
either.
Hearing about at least one guilty charge for every officer on trial. Again, we know Officer Justin Smith and Tadarius Bean found guilty on obstruction charges. Demetrius Haley found guilty on all counts.
Oh, he got out. Demetrius got guilty on all. Oh, I need to rewind that. I missed that.
Actually crossed the street if you don't mind.
Now, I'm happy to hear that. That's the one with the black eyes, y'all.
But the family of Tyre Nichols,
that's the one I feel like is on payroll.
We're here with them to make sure we're not missing anything as far as reaction.
Let me
this
go
has
get
been 19 days as Tyre's mother
19
has
days.
waited
That took longer than I
justice,
expected.
she says. Let's go over here. How you doing, Frank? Okay, so Tyre's family is about to head home now in their vehicle. Mr. Rodney, how you feeling?
I'm all right.
Okay. What was your reaction when you heard, this is Tyre's stepfather, what was your reaction when you heard about that verdict?
We're elated. It's long awaited.
Where do you go from here?
Okay, so
state trial and civil trial.
You personally, as his stepfather, where do you go from here?
We got to keep pushing. You know what I'm saying? We got to keep fighting. There's other families that need help.
Absolutely.
In this fight. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to be activists for other families.
I know Tyre was about to turn 30 years old. I know you miss him. But you also you mentioned police accountability. Talk about that more.
Well, that's just normal. I mean, that's expected. Police need to be accountable for whatever they do. Like we said, it's not all bad cops, but we got to root out the bad ones. So.
I got you. Well, obviously, Tyre's family, they're still taking this all in. They're still trying to process this verdict that just came in. So we'll give them a minute to process it all. But they've been surrounded by supporters for these past 19 days. And really, since this happened on January 7th of 2023, they're about to get in their vehicle and head off from the federal court building here. After
Demetrius Haley.
Verdict.
Okay.
Right. Thank you very much.
Double O'Kane. This is not for political.
The Tyre Nichols family.
This is not a political
had their
platform.
Reaction and articulated what they wanted to say.
So I'm going to remove that comment. We are not
encouraging to hear them being that
campaigning for politics.
Trial, because this is what it was really all about, was justice. As they said, justice for Tyre Nichols in this instance.
So
lost his life.
Demetrius Haley.
Right. Well, we're coming up on NBC Nightly News. Actually, we are in NBC.
He got 2 guilty of a conspiracy to obstruct and obstruction of justice. Guilty. The deliberate, whatever the indifference, not guilty.
Pleaded guilty before the trial began.
That was Desmond Mills Jr. and Emmett Martin III.
And they testified in the trial and were emotional and regretted and articulated and testified that they were very sorry for what happened. In 2020 hindsight, clearly.
Definitely.
But the 3 officers the former officers who were convicted today, Demetrius Haley, Justin Smith, and Tadarius Bean, are all now in custody.
Of the U.S. Marshals.
Of the U.S.
Of
Marshals.
the U.S. Marshals. They did not go home.
We're going to recap the verdicts again. Demetrius Haley, deprivation of rights under color of law, bodily injury, guilty. Deprivation of rights under color of law, bodily injury, guilty. Conspiracy to witness tamper, guilty.
Oh, okay.
Obstruction of justice, witness tampering, guilty.
And Demetrius Haley's case.
Oh, he was guilty of the lesser charges.
The deprivation of rights under color of law, deliberate indifference. He was found not guilty on that.
Justin Smith next.
All right, Justin Smith. There you see his image.
Justin Smith was found not guilty of all of those charges except for count 4, obstruction of justice, witness tampering, guilty. We understand Bill Crump is talking again. I guess not. We thought he was. But anyway, Justin Smith, guilty on count 4 only, obstruction of justice, witness tampering.
And then Tadarius Bean. Oh, let's go back to Ben Crump now, who is representing the family of Tyre.
Them to have
No, Memphis.
any favoritism
Memphis, Tennessee.
just because they had a gun and a badge. That's what the community demands when we say equal justice under the law. It should be no different when they go to punish those officers for killing Tyre Nichols as if the reverse would have happened. If Tyre Nichols would have killed those officers, what sentence would he have gotten?
Exactly.
But that's what the family expects. That's what the community expects. Thank you.
Again, that was Ben Crump representing the family of Tyre Nichols in this case.
And so he has
Can y'all hit the
filed a
like
civil
button,
suit
please?
with Antonio Romanucci, who is partner,
For the family.
and that's $550 million, more than $500 million that they're suing the city of Memphis and the police department for as a wrongful death case.
Yes.
And so
The additional case.
As well.
that's what's next, the state trial. But let's go back to the verdict. I don't think we fully articulated
Excessive
Justin
force
Smith.
and
He
failure
really
to intervene.
had, in terms of
He said not guilty.
Verdict.
Although they said they should have. How is that
So he
possible?
was found not guilty of all the charges except obstruction of justice, witness tampering. We're going to go to an activist now who's downtown with Jerry Askin. Let's listen in.
Bria Bolden is out there now talking to people, getting reactions.
Yeah, guys, I'm here outside. Gary's with another crew down the way, but I wanted to give you guys a perspective. Obviously, activists have been with Tyre Nichols' family since day one. When this tragedy happened a year ago now, I want to bring in Paula. This is Paula. She's been speaking with the family since the beginning. Paula, can you talk about, I guess, how you're feeling today with this verdict, guilty verdicts?
Yes, I am so elated for once. All the cases that we've been fighting in and around Memphis, that we have a happy family. If mama and daddy and sisters and brothers and attorneys are happy, then the activists are happy. Whatever the family desires, that is what we have been fighting for. We have been nonviolent. We haven't broken so much as one window. We've abided by all of Memphis laws and city ordinances.
She said we ain't broke no windows.
And I know you've been live streaming. I mean, this whole time you've been down here every single day for the trial. Even before then with the protests as well last year. Can you talk about how it's been just being here supporting the family and why you decided to do that?
I, of course, have had my beef with Memphis Police Department way before Tyre. We've had other cases that we have been fighting with families for, and it just seems like we weren't heard. So we had to pull some strings, and we all had to band together as a community to fight for justice because we seen the videos. There's other people that haven't seen them, but I seen them. I saw Tyre Nichols needing help, and no one there to help him. This is just as heaven to me. If I can see Mama smile about the verdict, you're going to see activists smile. You're going to see a peaceful community. You're going to see camaraderie between one another. You're going to not see me saying blah, 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 12. You're going to see me happy because we finally got justice. And this is not just Memphis. I have been live streaming Tyre Nichols all around the country and the world, Africa, London. People are watching Memphis, and we are sure to hold these officers accountable for their actions, from the Scorpion unit on down. And I would love to hear from C.J. Davis and the mayor.
I want to hear from
Well,
CJ
the mayor's
too.
at Makeda's Cookies.
The mayor's at Makeda's.
Sometime we're expecting it sometime next year. Are you guys?
He said the mayor's at Makeda's.
And supporting this family.
As long as God gives me breath.
He said the mayor is at Makeda's. Did he not just say that? Did she not just say that?
Support justice for Tyre Nichols, because he should still be alive today.
You've been a
for. We have been nonviolent. We haven't broken so much as one.
Why is the mayor at Makeda's?
We've abided by all of Memphis laws and city ordinances, and we just want justice.
And I know you've been live streaming. I mean, this whole time you've been down here every single day for the trial. Even before then with the protests as well last year. Can you talk about how it's been just being here supporting the family and why you decided to do that?
I, of course, have had my beef with Memphis Police Department way before Tyre. We've had other cases that we have been fighting with families for. And it just seems like we
some bullshit going on for real.
And we all had to band together as a community to fight for justice because we seen the videos. There's other people that haven't seen them, but I seen them. I saw Tyre Nichols needing help and no one there to help him. This is just as heaven to me. If I can see Mama smile about the verdict, you're going to see activists smile. You're going to see a peaceful community. You're going to see camaraderie between one another. You're going to not see me saying blah, 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 12. You're going to see me happy because we finally got justice. And this is not just Memphis. I have been live streaming Tyre Nichols all around the country and the world, Africa, London. People are watching Memphis, and we are sure to hold these officers accountable for their actions, from the Scorpion unit on down. And I would love to hear from C.J. Davis and the mayor. Well, the mayor is at Makeda's Cookies.
We've got the state case next. Sometime we're expecting it sometime next year. Are you guys planning to be there outside and supporting this family?
As long as God gives me breath and I am in Memphis and I am not working, I will be there to support justice for Tyre Nichols because he should still be alive today.
You've been out here all day.
All day.
Just tell me just about
why is the mayor at the cookie shop?
How long you've been waiting for this moment?
Well, from the moment that I got the inbox on Facebook that the police have killed another black man, I've been waiting for justice. Not only Tyre, but there are others that we are fighting for. Just the power of social media to get the word out from different cities, not just Memphis. We orchestrated for George Floyd and other cities. We are working in solidarity with others. So the world is watching Memphis, and I am determined to let them know when MPD steps out of line. You can guarantee to hear my name, hear my voice.
So the mayor is at a video shoot?
We are held accountable as citizens. They should be held accountable as officers for their actions. They are to protect and serve us. They work for us. And we need the community to feel safe. The community does not feel safe enough to call 911. You don't know what's going to happen. So this is...
Right. Why did she say that?
It's justice for me. If Mama is happy, then the activists are happy. So we've abided by her rules and her regulations. We did not do another Ferguson because that is where I am from. Tyre should be alive today. There is some anger still deep down inside of me.
Now she act like Jaguar. She look like she a crisis actress.
And so, as I said, if the family's happy, then the activists are happy.
Paula, thank you so much.
Thank you all for your coverage.
Yeah,
of
Paula,
this
Lord, Auntie, I wondered if she put that out there for a reason. I know, right?
Joe and Kim, I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
Well, I'm glad she didn't grab it.
Thank you. Please
I'm glad that the news people did not grab that.
Who are there? Please interview some more of the good folks who are there who witnessed that verdict in court today.
But speaking of the verdicts, maybe we should start over again. We've been trying to get this, starting with from the beginning, Demetrius Haley. Deprivation of rights under color of law, bodily injury, he was guilty, found guilty. Count 2, deprivation of rights under color of law, bodily
They thought they was going home
guilty.
today.
Count 3,
wrong answer.
conspiracy to witness tamper,
U.S.
guilty.
Marshals got their
Count
asses
4,
in custody.
obstruction of justice, witness tampering, guilty.
All right, and our next defendant would be Justin Smith here, deprivation of rights under the color of law, and he was found not guilty on that charge, and also found not guilty, frankly, on all the other charges, but guilty of obstruction of justice. That's where he was witness tampering.
What witness did they tamper with?
Was on that charge.
And Tadarius Bean, the same thing for Tadarius Bean, found not guilty on all the charges except count 4, obstruction of justice, witness tampering, guilty. Of course, the other two former officers who testified, Desmond Mills Jr. and Emmett Martin III, were probably most prominent in the video of the kicking and the hitting that was spotted, but they pleaded guilty, one last year and one not too long ago this year, pleaded guilty to the federal charges. Of course, the state case is still to come, and the civil trial as well.
That's right. So Steve Mulroy, the District Attorney General for Memphis and Shelby County, will be pressing those charges. The indictment came down the same month as the events of January 7th, 2023. And so the federal trial was given precedence. And now that that's over with, the state trial can proceed.
Okay, we're going to go back to Jerry Askin, who has been in this trial in the courtroom every day since the beginning. He's outside the courthouse now. Jerry, what's the latest?
Hey, Kim, Joe, right now we're waiting for the attorneys for the prosecution and the defense lawyers to walk out of these doors and see if they have any reaction. I want to mention their names. The prosecutors, definitely one that stood out was Catherine Gilbert as the federal prosecutor. For the defense, Officer Justin Smith, his attorney was Martin Zumach. The attorney for Tadarius Bean, John Keith Perry, among others, and the attorney for Demetrius Haley, Michael Stingel, and Leffler. So again, at any minute now, of course, we want to get all sides here. We're waiting to see what their attorneys may have to say when they walk out. Again, as you mentioned, the officers were seen handcuffed and taken into custody, but we do still want to see what the prosecution may have to say in this case. Many of them with the Department of Justice, the U.S. Attorney's Office, were from D.C., but trying this case here out of Memphis. So we're on standby. We heard from the family, but we're also waiting to hear from the attorneys who worked tirelessly to put this witness testimony and all this trial together for 19 days.
What is the witness tampering?
Gave an hours-long closing argument. I tell you, the attorney for Justin Smith, his argument went more than an hour and a half.
All right. Thank you, Jerry.
Sorry, we just have someone talking in our ear. Also, I just want to mention too, that only 2 of them. We're going back to Bria Bolden, who's talking to people who are in the courtroom. Bria?
A reigning authority and can do whatever they want whenever they put someone over.
After same to you, guilty verdict today. You guys have been behind Tyre Nichols' family from the beginning. How are you feeling?
I mean, I feel like that was insufficient, and hearing those not guilty charges hurts.
I agree.
I know that the family was happy that all the officers were taken into custody and found guilty on some of them. I'm glad that there's a state and civil case still ongoing, because I don't feel good about that verdict.
Thank you for speaking with us, guys. We appreciate it. So, guys, that was Hunter Dempster and Amber Sherman. They are some of the community activists, more of them who were behind Tyre family. You heard from one community activist just a few minutes ago, Paula Burris, who said that if the family was happy, she was happy. Amber and Hunter, on the other hand, have a mixed reaction to that. As we know, some of the officers, or if all of them, some of them were found guilty on the original charges put forward by the U.S. Department of Justice, but some of them were found guilty on lesser count. So mixed reactions about this verdict today. Obviously, the family of Tyre Nichols told us they were happy. We know the former officers are now headed to jail at the moment, but we have mixed reactions from community activists. So we're going to keep talking about this case. Obviously, we have the state case coming up and next year, and we're going to try to get more reaction from the community while we're outside the federal courthouse, while we're in downtown Memphis. Joe and Kim, I'm sending it back to you in the studio for now.
All right, Bria, thank you. And again, maybe we should go through the timeline again, just to remind everyone how this all started. It started January 7th, 2023, when Tyre Nichols was pulled over for a traffic stop, accused of reckless driving.
That's right, and then Tyre passed away on January 10th.
That they said they didn't have no reason to pull him over.
And then on...
Died from blunt force trauma to the head.
As ruled by the medical examiner. So it was a homicide, as the medical examiner ruled.
Then January 20th, 2023, the Memphis Police Department fired 5 officers accused of beating Tyre Nichols.
That's right. And then the former officers were indicted in state court, and those indictments are pending. That is the next legal event that we expect will transpire. And I suppose...
And this is a second-degree murder charge in this one.
That's right. And it's going to be interesting to see the exact timing of when this trial will actually begin, because we know the sentencing is going to happen on January 22nd, 2025.
For the federal trial, yeah.
For the case decided today. But it's hardly over.
Right. Then January 27th of 2023, the city of Memphis released video of the incident, and most of the news stations aired the video as well, describing what was being seen and allowing viewers to see some of the video that came from that incident, from police body camera video and blue light cameras set up throughout the city as well.
That's right, and that was difficult video to watch. So September 12th, 2023, a former officer indicted on federal charges. The 5 former officers were indicted. And November 2nd, Desmond Mills changed his federal plea. He took a plea deal, and we don't know what the exact outcome of that is going to be. I think that the federal judge has yet to decide all that. And then just this year, in August of this year, Emmett Martin III changed his federal plea to guilty and has cooperated. And both Mills and Martin testified in this trial that ended this afternoon. And so
then, of course, the trial started September 9th of 2020 of this year.
That's right.
And ended just today.
That's right.
The guilty verdicts.
That's right. And so this case has changed the lives of so many people, and is going to continue to do that as it unfolds, and it affects possibly the taxpayers of our city.
Exactly.
In a very significant way, depending on what the decision is made on the federal court in terms of the civil case.
Right.
And so, all of us have an interest in what happens next.
But fortunately, his mother said that she was happy. Tyre Nichols' mother said that she was happy with the verdict, that they were all convicted and they were all taken into custody. His stepfather mentioned that he was ecstatic.
That's right. And so they have become fighters for justice in all kinds of other similar cases. For example, Breonna Taylor out of Louisville, Kentucky. The Tyre Nichols family
it looked like
has become a standard bearer for these kinds of cases across America.
Right. Well, as we said, this trial comes about 15 months into the Department of Justice pattern or practice investigation into the Memphis Police Department. The DOJ announced that investigation in July of last year, several months, it's about 6 months after the Tyre Nichols case, but they said they would look into allegations of discriminatory policing and proper use of force.
This is under the federal, they still have state
arrests made by the Memphis Police Department.
State charges that they have to stand accountable for.
Was not prompted by one specific incident. The same type of investigations into the Louisville and Minneapolis police departments after the deaths of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd took more than 2 years to complete. And you are invited to add any information that you would like to add in this investigation, this ongoing investigation.
So
again,
the charges was
888-473-3799. or email community.memphis@doj.gov.
So the charges, the jury has reached a verdict violating Nichols' civil right, not guilty. Oh, hold on, my battery's low. Hold on. Hold on.
And Nichols' family also filed a $550 million lawsuit against the city of Memphis, those 5 former officers, as well as the Memphis Police Department. That lawsuit claims Nichols' death was a direct and foreseeable product
Oh,
of
hold on.
unconstitutional policies, practices, customs, and deliberate indifferences of the city of Memphis and its police officials. That
So
case-
their charges was the violating civil rights. They were all found not guilty, deliberate indifference to medical needs. I don't know how they got not guilty on that. They deliberately did not provide that. Conspiracy, how they got not guilty on that. But obstruction, they all got found guilty on obstruction. And I think Haley, the one that has the dark eyes to me, he got an extra guilty.
That's right. And so Tyre Nichols,
I think,
on January 7th, 2023,
where is it at?
go home after
Trying to go home. Well, they asses did not go home tonight.
the officers after the initial stop and the chase began, and he was ultimately cordoned and beaten. And as the video shows, and as the jury saw, beaten relentlessly and suffered injuries that ultimately.
They beat him for no reason.
3 days later.
3 days later, and this jury made its decision based on what they saw. One would think from the testimony, what they heard in the testimony, what they saw.
I would like to just go through the charges again one more time because it's an interesting breakdown. Demetrius Haley was the one that received most of the guilty verdicts today. He was guilty on count 1, deprivation of rights under color of law, bodily injury.
So
guilty.
here is where I
He was
see
also-
some.
could have
Hold
been guilty
on.
of excessive
Will it
force
let
and
me
failure to
stop?
intervene, but he was found not guilty. That was the only charge he was found not guilty.
So here it has not guilty, excessive force. It says guilty, lesser involuntary bodily injury. So he got guilties on lesser. So he's the one that got the most guilty verdicts. You pissed, Illis?
Well, not the only one, but count 2, deprivation of rights under color of law, bodily injury, guilty. Count 3, conspiracy to witness tamper, guilty. And count 4, obstruction of justice, witness tampering, guilty. That is restore peace in our neighborhoods. The officers on trial were part of the Scorpion team. Scorpion Team 1.
What did I just do?
And their job was to look for drugs, illegal guns, and violent.
Not guilty, frankly, on all.
The third were probably most prominent in the video.
I'm gonna
of
go
the
back to
kicking
that.
and the hitting that was spotted, but they pleaded guilty. One last year and one not too long ago this year pleaded guilty to the federal charges. This, of course, the state case is still to come and the civil trial as well.
That's right. So Steve Mulroy, the District Attorney General for Memphis and Shelby County, will be pressing those charges. The indictment came down the same month as the events of January 7th, 2023. And so the federal trial was given precedence. And now that that's over with, the state trial can proceed.
Okay, we're going to go back to Jerry Askin, who has been in this trial in the courtroom every day since the beginning. He's outside the courthouse now. Jerry, what's the latest?
Was happy that all the
as that is going to be. I think the as it unfolds, and it affects possibly the taxpayers of our city.
Exactly.
In a very significant way, depending on what the decision is made on the federal court in terms of the civil case.
Right.
And so, all of us have an interest in what happens next.
But fortunately, his mother said that she was happy. Tyre Nichols' mother said that she was happy with the verdict, that they were all convicted and they were all taken into custody. His stepfather mentioned that he was ecstatic.
That's right. And so they have become fighters for justice in all kinds of other similar cases. For example, Breonna Taylor out of Louisville, Kentucky. The Tyre Nichols family has become a standard bearer for these kinds of cases across America.
Right. Well, as we said, this trial comes about 15 months into the Department of Justice pattern or practice investigation into the Memphis Police Department. The DOJ announced that investigation in July of last year, several months, it's about 6 months after the Tyre Nichols case, but they said they would look into allegations of discriminatory policing, improper use of force, and unlawful searches and arrests.
This falls up under C.J. Davis.
Police Department. The DOJ said this investigation was not prompted by one specific incident. The same type of investigations into the Louisville and Minneapolis police departments after the deaths of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd took more than 2 years to complete. And you are invited to add any information that you would like to add in this investigation, this ongoing investigation. Again, the number to call, 888-473-3730, or email community.memphis@doj.gov.
All right, in January 2024, the DOJ released that new guide on specialized units in law enforcement agencies as a result of this case. Officials saying the guide comes after the death of Tyre Nichols and the public scrutiny of the MPD's failed Scorpion unit. The DOJ made a priority to develop a practical resource for law enforcement and community leaders assessing the use of specialized unit in police agencies.
Yeah. And Nichols' family also filed a $550 million lawsuit against the city of Memphis, those 5 former officers, as well as the Memphis Police Department. That lawsuit claims Nichols' death was a direct and foreseeable product of the unconstitutional policies, practices, customs, and deliberate indifferences of the city of Memphis and its police officials. That case is expected to be heard sometime next year.
That's right. Now, the former officers were part of the MPD's now defunct Scorpion unit. The specialized task force was created in a response to crime within specific neighborhoods, and last February, the interim police chief, C.J. Davis, said after disbanding the Scorpion
Chief Davis and her
officers
side
were
piece Sean that she wound up firing.
specialized units in the police department.
And the Scorpion team stood for Street Crimes Operation to Restore Peace in Our Neighborhoods. The officers on trial were part of the
Side
Scorpion
piece
team,
Sean
Scorpion
that's fired.
Team 1, and their job was to look for drugs, illegal guns, and violent offenders.
That's right. And so Tyre Nichols, who was pulled over on January 7th, 2023, while he was trying to go home to have some dinner at his home, and ran away from the officers after the initial stop and the chase began. And he was ultimately cordoned and beaten. And as the video shows,
So I
and
guess
as the
they
jury
saying
saw,
because he ran. This was for civil rights.
relentlessly and suffered
We
injuries.
gotta
that
keep remembering
ultimately
this.
took his life.
3 days later.
3 days later, and this jury made its decision based on what they saw, one would think, from the testimony, and what they heard in the testimony, and what they saw in that video.
Okay, I would like to just go through the charges again one more time, because it's an interesting breakdown. Demetrius Haley was the one that received most of the guilty verdicts today. He was guilty on count 1, deprivation of rights under color of law, bodily injury, guilty. He could have been guilty of excessive force and failure to intervene, but he was found not guilty. That was the only charge he was found not guilty. Well, not the only one, but count 2, deprivation of rights under color of law, bodily injury, guilty. Count 3, conspiracy to witness tamper, guilty. And count 4, obstruction of justice, witness tampering, guilty. That is Demetrius Haley.
All right, and moving over to Justin Smith now. He was found not guilty on all the charges with the exception of obstruction of justice, witness tampering, guilty. And so that is the one charge that he was found guilty of in the Tyre Nichols case.
And the same case for Tadarius Bean, who also had officers testifying that he was a good man and a good officer in the trial. He was found guilty of only count 4, obstruction of justice, witness tampering. So there you go. All 4 officers found guilty in some capacity in this case today. All 3
And the U.S. Marshals put
and 2
handcuffs
of the
on
12
their
officers
asses
already
and marched their asses straight
the
to
federal
jail.
charges. Of course, we
They
still have to
did
take
not
them.
make
That's
it
right.
home,
So Emmett Till
just like
III, who pleaded
Tyre
guilty,
Nichols did not make
testified
it
he was
home.
angry and he wanted revenge on a suspect after a suspect hit him with their car weeks before that January incident.
And he had just come back to work from that incident and felt that he said that he felt that he was not quite ready to come back, that he was still angry and still upset.
And he confessed and testified that he had lied about what Tyre Nichols did to justify his actions of excessive force. And then Martin confirmed that he and Officer Demetrius Haley were known as the Smash Brothers for using excessive force on suspects.
Yeah, and then former Officer Desmond Mills Jr. also testified. He was the one who became emotional on the stand. He said he was wrong for assaulting Tyre, and he lied about the assault as well to keep his job and to support his family, including a special needs child. And he said MPD has good insurance, and he didn't want to lose his job. He said, "I wish I could have stopped the punches. It hurts to watch. It hurts inside so much. I felt bad. Just to know I'm a part of that. I made this child fatherless, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry can't bring him back, but I pray his child has everything he needs growing up." That again was Officer Desmond Mills Jr.
Right there in the center of your screen. And so what we're going to do here coming up at 6 o'clock, we're going to present the 6 o'clock broadcast of Action News 5 and give a comprehensive overview of everything that has gone down this afternoon. We're going to go over the verdicts one more time. We're going to hopefully talk with an expert about these verdicts and what an expert might think and might assess as an objective observer of whether this was a victory or something else.
Well, the family is happy. The family seems to feel it's a victory. They're happy, ecstatic in some words. But again, 3 officers found guilty in different capacities.
Happy.
One
a black
on
life isn't shit to
4
them.
charges, and the other 2 on just 1 charge.
Illis, you have to remember that they got 3 more trials, 3 more cases.
Civil trial.
I think 2 more.
So this story is
just
one that's
one.
going to keep on unfolding here in our community for years.
And then we still have the DOJ investigation that has to be
the Department of Justice. They are not
as we've reported in this hour,
out of the clear.
In Minneapolis,
they still got more cases, trials that
Bria
they
Bolton
have to
is standing
stand
by
before.
again. Bria, what's going on with you?
Yeah, hey guys, we're still outside the federal court building. I can't tell you, we just talked about the charges. We do know the U.S. Marshals took all 3 of the former officers into custody right after that verdict came down. This is where we suspect that the U.S. Marshals would be coming out of. We were following around Tyre Nichols' family earlier, so we are not entirely sure if they have already left the federal court building, but we did just see 2 large Sprinter vans go into the garage about 2 minutes ago. Again, the reaction outside, we haven't really seen any members of the public. We've only really seen Tyre Nichols' family and the community activists we talked to earlier, but we do know that this case was a huge case. It made worldwide, international news about what happened to Tyre Nichols on January 7th, 2023. Obviously, he lost his life after that beating with former Memphis police officers, 3 of them who were on trial for more than 2 weeks at this point. We've been covering it all for you. For the reaction we talked to with community activists earlier who have been behind Tyre Nichols' family, bringing attention to what did happen to Tyre while he was in the hospital and right before he died. We talked to them earlier. One of them told me that as long as Miss Rovon Wells and Mr. Rodney Wells, Tyre Nichols' parents, were happy, that she was happy. We talked to a couple other community activists who had mixed reactions.
Yes, ma'am, I know. I just thought it would be
they
more.
believe the fact that some of these officers were not found
Yeah,
on all of the charges that
listen,
the
used
U.S.
to
Department
be
of Justice originally
police
charged them with,
officers wouldn't
they
have
were not
even been
happy
brought
with
up
that.
on
Some of those
charges.
officers were found
Wouldn't have
on
got,
lesser
wouldn't have
charges,
been
but
walked
overall,
off
I knew
into the
each
jail.
of them
They'd
were
have walked
found
home. They'd
guilty
have been
for
home.
witness tampering.
All
So
that
mixed
Tyre
reactions
Nichols
from community
family care
activists.
about
However,
is
the
the
family
money.
Tyre Nichols
I don't believe
very satisfied with this jury's
three
verdict today.
moments
And again,
that
we're
is
going to
not
be keeping
true.
following this coverage as well, continuing into our next newscast. Again, I
Okay,
do want
yeah,
to
I
say
figured you was
U.S.
gonna say
Marshals
something
did take the 3
like
former
that.
officers
Let me
who
go
were
and
on
get you
trial
on the body
into
here.
custody right after that verdict came down.
Yeah, I
We did
say
see 2
bye
Sprinter
to
vans go into the
three
garage there.
hole
Again, they could be associated, they could not be. We're going
threshold.
to continue with this coverage. Joe and Kim, I'm going to send
I
it back
knew
to
he
you
was
in
gonna
the
say
studio.
something wrong.
Breaking news coverage tonight here at 6 o'clock. A verdict made it in the federal trial for the 3 former Memphis police officers facing federal charges in the death of Tyre Nichols. That news coming in just over an hour ago.
He was not a
Mixed
thug,
verdict.
so
Not all the officers were convicted of
I
all
knew
the
you was
charges.
gonna say
All 3
something.
officers getting at least 1 guilty charge. Most not guilty, though. Demetrius Haley, count 1, deprivation of rights under color of the law, excessive force and failure to intervene, not guilty. Lesser involving bodily injury, guilty. Count 2, deprivation of rights under color of the law, deliberate indifference, not guilty. Lesser involving bodily injury, guilty. Count 3, conspiracy to witness tamper, guilty. Count 4, obstruction of justice, witness tampering, guilty. In the case of Justin Smith, the former officer, count 1, deprivation of rights under color of the law, excessive force and failure to intervene, not guilty. Lesser involving bodily injury, not guilty. Count 2, deprivation of rights under color of the law, deliberate indifference, not guilty. Lesser involving bodily injury, not guilty. Count 3, conspiracy to witness tamper, not guilty. But count 4, obstruction of justice, witness tampering, and Justin Smith was found guilty. And finally, Tadarius Bean.
Used to be they wouldn't, they'd have walked out for free. Not guilty on our charges.
Not guilty. Lesser involving bodily injury, not guilty. Count 2, deprivation of rights under the color of the law, deliberate indifference, not guilty. Lesser involving bodily injury, not guilty. Count 3, conspiracy to witness tamper, not guilty. But finally, count 4, the same one that Smith was found guilty of, obstruction of justice, witness tampering, guilty. And so let's go now to our reporter who has been there since the beginning, Jerry Askin, with the very latest from the federal courthouse. Jerry.
Hey, Joe, good evening. Yes, 19 days for this federal trial, the week 4, and the jury brought that verdict back within 6 hours. I was in the courtroom when that verdict was read today. As you mentioned, most of them, 1 officer found guilty on all counts, 2 officers found mostly not guilty, but guilty on 2 counts. I spoke with Tyre's mom, well, I saw her rather in the courtroom. She held her head down as that verdict was being read. Those officers, Justin Smith, Tadarius Bean, and Demetrius Haley, really showed no emotion as the verdict was being read. Throughout the trial, we heard from 28 witnesses, 19 from the prosecution, 9 from the defense. The most memorable testimony I can tell you was those former officers who pled guilty on federal charges, Emmett Martin III and Desmond Mills Jr. Emmett Martin III was seen on video kicking Tyre and punching Tyre. He pled guilty a month before
he the
this
one who
federal
started
trial
the whole domino
Desmond
effect.
Mills Jr. was seen on video using his baton. He pled guilty last year. Now, all 3 officers who were on trial were taken into custody by the U.S. Marshal Service shortly after the verdict was read. So after the verdict was read, the family of Tyre Nichols came out of these doors and they held a miniature press conference here. And for the most part, they said they are satisfied. They said they do want they do have justice, they believe, but they also were satisfied in the fact that these 3 officers are going to jail. I spoke with Tyre Nichols' mother exclusively before this federal trial started. She told me that she wanted these officers to go to hell is what she wanted. Turns out they're going to jail. So right now
Hell,
we're
jail,
monitoring things
same
here
thing.
outside the federal building, still waiting to get reaction from defense lawyers and federal
That's what
prosecutors.
I'm waiting on, y'all. The
Every
defense lawyers.
lawyer each gave their own closing
To hear what
argument.
they
Every
have to say
officer on
about
trial,
their clients
had their own
going
defense lawyer.
straight
I
to
want to shift
jail.
things
They
over
did
now
not
to
make
our
it
Action
home.
News 5's Bria Bowden. She's also here.
Come to us now.
Reaction. Hey, Bria.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. We did speak to community activists who were with Tyre Nichols' family earlier. Mixed reactions from both of them. Okay, sorry, guys. We are monitoring the situation outside of federal court. We're just watching this door right over here. We do know the former officers who were...
Oh, I'm sorry. I hit the wrong button. They did not make it home tonight.
...convicted were taken into custody by the U.S. Marshals. We're monitoring this over here. This is the door we think they will likely come out of. So if you see me turning around during this broadcast, that's why we're keeping an eye on that door. But back to the community activists. They did have mixed reactions about this verdict coming down today. The first one I talked to, Paula Burris, she said as long as the family was happy, she was happy. We did talk to 2 other activists, Amber Sherman and Hunter Dempster, who had mixed reactions, again, to that verdict. We know that the former officers were not found guilty on all of the charges that the Justice Department originally brought forward to them. The jury did find them guilty on lesser charges for a couple of those counts, so that is what they were not satisfied with. We do know that the state case is supposed to be taking place sometime next year, so we don't know, obviously, how that is going to come out, but surely we'll be talking with them as well. Haven't seen a whole lot of members of the public coming out of the courthouse, or really even around the courthouse, unless they were employees. They came out before the verdict was coming down, but we're monitoring the situation out here in federal court. We still have not heard from the defense attorneys who represented the former officers, and we have not seen them get into the custodies of the U.S. Marshals. They might have already left when we were talking to Tyre Nichols' family, but we're going to be monitoring the situation out here again. Reporting live outside federal court, Bria Bolden, Action News 5.
All right, thank you so much, Bria. And now we're going to hear from the family and the attorneys for the family of Tyre Nichols in the wake of the verdict today.
All of them have been convicted of something, and they're all going to jail. That's
Yeah, I need to find the
This has been a long journey for our family. I'm actually in shock right now because I still can't believe all this stuff is going on. But we're happy that they all have been convicted and they have been arrested.
The federal court, all 5 of them, 2 pled guilty, 3 of them have been found guilty of charges, and they all, as the judge articulated, have been taken into custody. So the family was very relieved that the killers of Tyre Nichols have been taken into custody and have been found guilty.
We got to keep pushing. You know what I'm saying? We got to keep fighting. There's other families that need help in this fight. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to be activists for other families.
Praise God.
That was Rodney Wells, the stepfather of Tyre Nichols, talking with our Jerry Askin. We will be back with more coverage in a moment.
I want to catch the defense attorneys. Where is that live? What is Frank Gotti talking about? They don't want to talk about it. Traffickings. It is sad, Illis. I want to hear the, I'm trying to find it. What else done happened? What is Frank Gotti talking about? He an activist. Let me hear him. What is he saying? Hey, Granny. This ain't our regular live. People forgot money don't bring their son back. But I don't think this is about money. Cause this is not even the lawsuit about the money. That's a whole different lawsuit. 500 million. So they got a couple of more. They got the state. And this was just the federal. So they got two or three more cases. Hey, Leticia. I'm trying to see what Frank Gotti is saying is sad. Is he gonna talk?
Think so.
What is he talking about? Oh, he talking about, because I know he an activist. Or he was expecting more, I guess. I wonder, do he know his car is louder than him? Oh, he not happy with the verdict. He not happy with the verdict.
It's true, they are going to jail. It's a wild folk.
Okay, so I know how he feel. He feel like they should have been guilty on all four. I want to catch the defense attorney. I want to hear what they say and how he feel about they butts not going home today. They going straight to jail. Why it won't let me out? Said the system wasn't working. Let me catch them. Let me catch. I can't hear. With that, I want to hear the defense attorneys. What do they have to say? Cause they asked us they're not going home tonight. That's what I'm happy for. They're not going home. Y'all, our regular live is being pushed back. I pushed it back because I sure got to show y'all something there. Ooh-wee, man. Ooh-wee, man. I don't know how to title it right.
Technicalities were triggered or failed in the courtroom in some particular way to get a mixed verdict such as this.
So something wasn't presented. Okay, let's listen to this man. Let's listen. He says something failed. Something failed. Something failed. Let's go.
Technicalities were triggered or failed in the courtroom in some particular way to get a mixed verdict such as this.
All right, well, we appreciate your reaction and talking with us and giving some insight about this. We'll be back with you here shortly. Yes. And guys, back to you as we wait again for April to give us a rundown of what's happening there.
And Keith, before you get away, you know, we kept hearing from Tyre Nichols' family about justice for Tyre. Do you think they will believe Tyre Nichols got justice?
I don't want to put words in their mouth. I've certainly been praying for them, but I know that in this particular case, they were hoping for something more. They were hoping for charges that would at least be consistent for all of the officers, and that the threshold of proving this would be met, and then there would be a penalty that would be sufficient for what they feel happened to their son. They will never see their son again, and to think that these officers in some way will get a lesser penalty other than life or some other very stiff penalty is very concerning.
All right, thank you. Pastor Keith Norman always has his pulse on the community. Thank you so much for your words tonight. All right, now we're going to toss it out to our very own April Thompson, who has been covering this story from the very beginning. April, what's it like in the courtroom?
Well, we were in the courtroom just a few minutes ago as this verdict was read. Tyre's family, about 2 rows of them, came out just a few minutes before. What was amazing is how many U.S. Marshals were in the court. I think I counted about 10 U.S. Marshals.
They was on deck. They should have known they wasn't going home.
The defendants. And we did not get a lot of reaction as far as any outbursts or anything like that. That did not happen. We did see his mother, Rovon Wells, and his stepfather, sister, brother, and some of them had their eyes closed, their heads up, as though they were praying. Some lawmakers also in the room, also looking like they were praying, but not a lot of reaction. I think a lot of people were a little surprised when the verdicts came down. And what we can tell you is that the lawyers, after the verdicts were read, got up and asked that the defendants, their clients, continue to remain free, remain on bond until the sentencing. And when I left the courtroom, they were looking at sometime in January, possibly for sentencing. But the judge said he would put them in the custody of U.S. Marshals. So, Tadarius Bean, Demetrius
Take your
Haley,
ass straight
and
to
Justin
jail.
Smith all left the courtroom with U.S. Marshals. They are in their custody until Monday. That's when the judge says he will come back and decide on whether they will remain on bond until they are sentenced. Now, the jury had nothing to do with the sentencing. That's going to be up to the judge. And I think we've told you before that counts 1 and 2 carry a maximum penalty of life in prison. Counts 3 and 4 carry a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison. But again, because of how these counts fell when they came down, really the only thing that all of them have been convicted on is the obstruction of justice. And you have to wonder how much time they would get under the judge's consideration for that. Now, it looks like that is one Mr. Tyre Nichols' brother coming out right now. And I did see Ben Crump, who was also in the courtroom. He came in right before, and usually he
Can y'all please hit the like button?
And, Mrs. Wells and Mr. Wells, they were with him, and it looks like they are about to come out as well. But not a lot of reaction from them. I'm sure they have a lot of emotions. I am sure they have some concerns. Usually, Ben Crump will tell us when they're going to have press conferences and things like that. We have not heard that as of yet, But
Well,
a lot
one
of
last
people are
month and
waiting
one
to
this
see
month.
what that reaction will be. The courtroom was packed this afternoon. Usually for the last 3.5 weeks that we have been here, it's been not full at all, kind of sparse, but it was packed when this verdict came down. A lot of people waiting to see what it would be, and the obstruction of justice was the only thing. Demetrius Haley got the harsher sentence. He's found guilty on lesser charges on counts 1 and 2, and then guilty on 3 and 4. But you also must remember
The one I
that
said
he
had the
was
darkest
one that they
eyes.
said did the
Majority
kicking
of the
we
damage.
saw in that video, and all of them, they said, tried to not give the correct information and obstruction, and have obstruction there.
Justice for Tyre!
Let's listen.
Justice for Tyre! Justice for Tyre!
Miss Wells, what is your reaction?
My reaction is that all of them are in jail.
Hold up!
Oh, stop, Rodney, stop. All of them
She said,
have been
"Stop,
convicted of
Rodney."
something, and they're all going to jail. That's how I feel. This has been a long journey for our
Bless her
family.
heart, Lord.
I'm actually in shock right now because I still can't believe all this stuff is going on. But we're happy that they all have been convicted and they have been arrested.
And that's very important that the jury found all of them in some way participated in a crime, and that Tyre Nichols' death won't go unaccounted for. That is critical. We know that this is the federal case. It's different from the state case, but in the federal court, all 5 of them, 2 pled guilty, 3 of them have been found guilty of charges, and they all, as the judge articulated, have been taken into custody. So the family was very relieved that the killers of Tyre Nichols have been taken into custody and have been found guilty. Now you will hear from Attorney Tony Romanucci before any of the other family members may speak.
Thank you, everybody. Today was monumentous because you had 2 defendants who pled guilty to deprivation of rights under color of law. They testified in this courtroom. The remaining defendants have all been found guilty of 1 charge or more: obstruction, conspiracy, deprivation of rights causing bodily injury. This is justice for Tyre. This is a very high burden that this government had in order to prove 12 counts against all of these individuals, and they proved more than half of them.
That's right.
So we are grateful to the federal government. We're grateful to the jury for paying attention. His Honor for a clean trial. And now we look forward to justice. We look forward to the state case, the civil case, because what we know is these officers conspired.
That's right.
They made an agreement.
That's right.
They made an agreement to cause harm, and now they are in jail. They are.
You're gonna hear from Mr. Wells in just a minute. It's very important that we thank Kristen Clark and the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice for bringing these charges and zealously prosecuting this case. Now you will hear from Mr. Rodney Wells, the father of Tyre Nichols.
I just want to say for the family that we are all elated. We're all very, very happy that these guys have been put in jail. This is a long time coming.
Yes.
And justice for Tyre. So we're just so very proud that all of them are going to jail today. We cannot wait on the sentencing so we know what their total time will be. But today was a very good day for our family.
Yeah.
And now you will hear from Judge Ernestine Doris, who will make a statement before you hear from his uncle.
Today is a day that we in fact got justice for Tyre, and I just like to thank the government for their work in getting this done and their diligence and the way that this matter was held and handled before the court so that we know that notwithstanding anything that we think, there is justice.
Yes. It is very important to note that all of them were pointing the fingers at each other. So all of them said that the others had something to do with the death of Tyre Nichols. That is very important, especially as we go forward to the other cases, whether it be the state criminal charge, but especially the civil case, the wrongful death civil rights violation, because the violation of Tyre Nichols' civil rights led to his death, and the blood is on the hand of the Memphis Police Department. That's right. And we're thankful to the jury for this first step of justice. Now you will hear from his Uncle Johnny.
First and foremost, I'd just like to thank you all for being here for our family. I thank the federal government. They really worked very hard for Tyre. And I'd like to thank God for watching over us and for our families. And, you know, like they said, they're all in prison. They're not getting out anytime soon, and it's not over. I'd just like to say, you know, let this be a message to all officers, you know, that, you know, you will reap what you sow.
That's right.
You know,
You're not exempt.
I mean, you just can't go around hurting people and think that you're not going to be accountable for it.
Yeah, you are not exempt.
Let this be a message, because Tyre's death did not go in vain.
That's right.
That's all I like to
Now
say.
you hear from his sister, Kiwana. Kiana, I'm sorry.
I just want to say, I don't know if I'm happy, but it's a bittersweet day. I will never get my little brother back, but to see those officers held accountable for what they did and put our family through did give us some hope for the future, and maybe this won't ever happen to another family in the future, but I just so thankful. I was smiling when I saw them get taken away into custody, because that's part of the, that's just one of the things that they did with him. What they did to my brother was wrong, and to see them go into custody and be held accountable was anything and everything that my family could ask for.
Justice for Tyre Nichols.
Justice for Tyre Nichols.
We'd like to thank all the activists, all the state representatives, everybody, all the faith-based community, everybody who stood for justice, to say that Tyre deserved humanity, Tyre deserved his constitutional rights, and Tyre deserved to get home to his mother and father. Ms. Robon, would you like to say the last
I just
word?
want to say to all of you guys, thank you so much for covering this story the correct way. And I appreciate the love and everything that you guys have given our family and to the community of Memphis. Thank you for all the prayers and all the love. Just thank you so much. We appreciate it all.
Anything else, Kareem? Anything else, family?
Nope.
Justice for Tyre Nichols.
Let me ask
Justice for Tyre Nichols.
Mr. Crump.
Justice for Tyre Nichols.
Demetrius Haley seemed to have the harshest sentence. Do you think that that was fair?
Well, I think the jury evaluated all the evidence and they made the decisions based on their deliberations of who should be punished most severely. We know that Martin and Haley and those all pointed the fingers at each other. And not only they're gonna have to answer to the judge when he sentences them, most importantly, they're gonna have to answer to God. That's right.
He putting the Lord on
Attorney
it.
Crump, you all wanted a guilty verdict on all counts.
We got, and that's what I was sitting there holding hands with Mr. Wells and Miss Wells, and when they heard a guilty conviction for each one of them, they thanked God right there as they were sitting in the courtroom.
Lord forgive me, but I hope they never see the light of day. Well, they gonna see the light of day on this one, but they got a couple of more they have to stand account for.
They did to my boy.
Right.
Justice for Tyre.
So collectively, federal, they'll get out and go to state. Kind of like what's going on with Keon, right, that attempted to take out Dolph life. He was gone for what, almost 9-10 years, and then he got out on the 8th, and he went straight to Memphis. Man, we ain't heard from him.
Conviction. So some conviction is better than no conviction. There were counts that they were found not guilty of, but the family walking down the sidewalk here at federal court now, flanked by a lot of people, flanked by cameras, and they say they are satisfied because like I was telling you, when they left the courtroom with in the custody of U.S. Marshals. So that did happen, and they wanted that. They wanted them to be put behind bars, and apparently that's going to happen at least until Monday, when the judge says he will make the decision on whether they will stay free.
I hope they stay in jail.
And we were hearing, I didn't hear the final date, but they said that sentencing could come sometime in January.
Right,
Neither one of them was
family,
remorseful.
As you mentioned, did seem satisfied with that verdict, pleased that
they were satisfied because they thought that they wasn't going. There's no possibility of them getting out of jail.
At least some crimes against Tyre Nichols here. They hope, they said, that this message will send a message to all officers on this force and beyond, saying you reap what you sow, and then there will be other options, keep in mind, for justice for the Tyre Nichols family in state court and also civil court, because this family has
they got two more courts.
A $500 million lawsuit against the city of Memphis and the Memphis Police Department.
So they got one more court that's criminal and another one that's in their pockets.
All right, our Keith Norman, Pastor Keith Norman, is in the newsroom with us today. And could you give us some perspective on what you just heard from the family?
Well, sure. I think what we've heard is a family that is satisfied, first of all, with the verdict that they have heard. And that has really been the posture of the Wells family throughout this trial. They have always kept the name of Tyre Nichols before all of their personal interests, and they've always wanted justice for Tyre. And so by doing this, they have brought a sense of calm to our city. They have always kept the city on alert as to their satisfaction and where they were moving. So I'm very thankful for them and the way that they have embraced the city and the way that they have led in this particular season.
They
I
definitely
heard
need to
something
be
in there, though,
paid
from the
for what
sister,
happened.
And I want to say this. This is really the cry of many African American
So I don't
families.
think that they should forget money. What just happened? Oh, that's the end of that. Okay, hold on. Hold on. City needs to pay. The city, it needs to come by some of these people's pension. How about that? This is a slap in Chief Davis' face because she brought this Scorpion unit concept from Atlanta. She needs to be fired.
Looking like they were praying, but
Chief Davis needs to be interim Davis or whatever she is. She needs to be fired, as far as I'm concerned.
Officers charged with violating Tyre Nichols' civil rights.
Right now, we're waiting for word from our producer inside about the verdict, but we know that testimony ended Monday in this trial, and after 28 weeks.
Where is the defense attorney?
Took the stand.
That's exactly right. And so our reporter, Jerry Askin, has done gavel-to-gavel coverage there. He's been inside the courtroom.
Hey, God, what is it? Hey, Otto. Hey, God wins. I think I'm finna end this one, y'all. Cause I wanted to, hold on. The sentencing date. What? Yeah, hit the like button. I'm with you. Let me see what they saying about the sentencing date. Hold on. 3 officers will be sentenced on January 22nd. Oh, okay. But they trying to see, they want to be free until sentencing. And the U.S. Marshals took that ass straight to jail until Monday until the judge decide if he gonna let them stay in jail. Remain free until then. They need to stay in jail. Federal investigation into MPD. And we still waiting on that verdict. Yeah, but they finna have a, they mentioned the Department of Justice investigation in this case too. And where's Davis? She wasn't nowhere around, was she? I wonder why. But they got something going on at the cookie spot. Some video. They got heavy police presence up there for a video shoot? Really? She ain't down here for this? And she brought this Scorpion unit stuff down from the Red Dog and Red Bulls from Atlanta? Is that what y'all telling me? Yeah, she didn't supervise these folks. What's her side piece, Sean, was regulating this mess. Yeah. Hey, Plato. I hope they stay in jail. They're a threat to society. Okay, y'all. Let me see. I want to hear what the defense had to say. I wonder why they are keeping that out of everything. I want to hear what their attorneys had to say about their asses, the U.S. Marshals taking their asses straight to jail. But I guess they don't want to talk about that. I want to hear that. I want to hear them say, oh, they shouldn't have, so I can ram their head in the wall. But since they not coming out with that, let me go ahead and end this so I can come back with my ADOLPH stuff. How about that? Because, yeah, we got to see. There's a whole list with the dollar amounts on their heads. Yeah, we got to, and oh boy, Chief Davis been disappointing me. She been disappointing me. But I definitely want y'all to see this list with the dollar amount. And I keep seeing the name MEMPHIS in this paperwork. And Gotti don't think he gonna have to, oh, okay. So I'll be back. Jay Reed from In Too Deep. Davis like Jay Reed. Now, which one was Jay Reed? Lawrence Fishburne. I'll be back, Chelsea. I'll be back. I already got another live pent at 7 something. 7:30, I think. So let me go and get off of here so I can get ready for that one. Okay, and charge this phone up so I won't be saying, dang, I'm out of juice. You ain't no Cap J. Oh, more. Oh, okay. Oh, more Epps. Well, it was one that was In Too Deep, and it was another one with Lawrence Fishburne. Deep Cover or something like that. In Too Deep with Omar Epps. Omar Epps would be Teasy or Quet, them informants that really, no. In Too Deep is Shondell Barnett or Teasy, who are really undercover cops, but in them streets like they really about their life and forgot that they was caught. That's Shondell Barnett. Oh, Deep Cover. Okay. I know it was 2 movies that was similar. Pearls of Wisdom. What do you mean? A lack of respect. Hey, on my ish. I like it. Why you need to be a mod? Who are you? You're not a tea sipper. Have you donated to the platform? Have you supported the platform? Huh? A Rocket Legend Pro? Since you want to be a mod? Have you supported the platform? I'm a good mod, though. Have you support? Can you understand English? Have you supported my platform? I don't care who else you've been a mod for. I don't care how good of a mod. Good mods to me support this platform. Have you supported the platform? Support my Cash App. $AUNTEAFEE. If you can't put your money where your mod stick is, then stop begging for a mod stick and you ain't supported this channel. This is our first time seeing you. Where you been? Don't play me. Or what was your name? What was your name? Let's get you up real quick. What was your name? Okay, so a Rocket Legend Pro, you joined 2 months ago. You have 5 subscribers. Why you lying? Why you lying? You ain't been here before. What was your name? Who sent you? Right, goodbye. Who sent you? That was my. Look at here. Do you need my Cash App? Rocket League Pro. Let's see how bad you want that stick. I know you're not exclusive news TV. Did you hear what I said, Rocket League Pro? Do you see my Cash App printed at the top? It's pinned at the top. Do you see it? Let's see how bad you want this monster. T-Sippers, y'all see this? I think you need the ginger tea. Samba, why you said that? Okay, have you left? Are you still here, Rocket? Rocket? Hey. Gemini-ish. Did she pop out real quick? She sure waiting, ain't she? Okay. So T-Sippers. Go ahead. Let me see Chelsea AunTeaFee send Rocket to the moon. God, keep playing games. Send that ass to the moon. Ha! Okay. Y'all say by the rocket. Rocket don't stop it. Say rocket don't stop. Rocket don't stop it. Rocket don't stop. Ha! Instead of you getting a mod stick, you would get your walking papers from the T-Sippers, okay? T-Sippers say by the rocket. The rocket don't stop. Say rocket don't stop. Bye-bye rocket. Bye-bye rocket. Y'all say by the rocket. Bye rocket. See you. Wouldn't want to be here. Okay, y'all. I'll be back to talk about. I'm gonna change that change that thumbnail. I think I have it for 7:30 something. We're gonna talk about quit mentor and the list. Cause guess what? There is a list that this paperwork probably came from the feds. They in trouble, y'all. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. They asses is in trouble. Okay? We gonna be clear. Oh, that's going on over there. Rico comment. You ain't never lied. Let's go, y'all. Let's end off on some jazz. You know how we do it. And I'll be back. It's scheduled for 7:38. Go on over there and hit the like button. Let me do a thumbnail. 7:38 it will be popping. All right, tea sippers. I'm Gemini, you funny. Auntie Quita. Auntie Quita. See you in 40 minutes. Okay, bye-bye, y'all. Hey, Carrie, meet us at the other live in 40 minutes on our ADOLPH stuff. This was the verdict for Tyre Nichols. ADOLPH stuff coming in 40 minutes. We're 39 now.